Hello everyone, today I'm going to do a video on a neat little project that I've been working on. Now, this car here is the Yokomo Formula 1 car. This is the YRF-001. Now, you probably noticed something's a little bit different, or a few things that are different actually. The battery layout is now running a Transverse, so a cross chassis layout, and I'm running Yokomo R12 bulkheads. Now, a lot of the components here simply came off of a Yokomo R12 C3. The whole rear pod assembly, the lower pod plate, the bulkheads, all that came from an R12. The upper plate here, even like the side plate here for the side springs came from an R12, the side links as well. Not only that, I had an old C3 chassis that was all scraped up, used and abused. Basically, its life had basically ended, and so I thought, well, I can't use the original hole positions on the Yokomo Formula 1 car because the links would just be like angled in like so. And I needed clearance for the LiPo battery to fit in without the LiPo battery touching the links. And so what I did is I just hacked up an old C3 chassis, and I managed to get this section here, lined everything up perfectly, and you might notice here that the links are going on the underside. And what I did is I made sure that using shims, by raising this up or down, I made sure that the links were perfectly horizontal to the surface. But this part here was only the only part that I really modified. Everything else on the rear end here just came directly off of a Yokomo R12. Now you could probably machine something up here out of aluminum or carbon fiber. The only holes that I drilled were the holes here, right here and here, and I just used the existing holes from the lower bulkhead, or from the lower portion here, which would connect to like the upper bracing system that goes up here. There's like two black, what do you call it, two pieces of aluminum that come from the chassis upwards that would connect to like the battery hold down system slash body mount. And yeah, I just did away with all that, and I just used the existing holes to kind of line everything up, set everything up nicely, and it worked out perfectly. The damper here is, as you can see, Yokomo damper. This actually came from a Tamiya part. I think it was like from 414M, and that's kind of like my little shock post, little shock stand. It works out right. There's a bit of a cut there, but it's all right. This is just like a little prototype setup here. But that's it. I just took a C3 chassis, and where the links would connect from the rear pod, from the rear plate to like the main chassis, I just cut that section out, and there you have it. And everything works smoothly. Like the links work perfectly fine. There's no binding, there's no twisting or anything like that. To the rear pod, so as you can see here, just R12 bulkheads. Now, one thing is, if you do decide to use the wing, which obviously you need to, you're going to have to modify that wing a little bit. Now, since this R12 pod is, since I've gone ahead and used the R12 pod because I'm running foam tires, which run smaller diameters, I cannot run the original kit pod, which you should be fine if you're running rubber tires, sorry. But since I'm running smaller diameter tires, I need to go with the R12 pod, which helps bring the axle down quite a bit. But you can use your Yokomo Formula 1 pod here perfectly fine. You won't have any problems whatsoever. Like it will just bolt on directly to your lower pod plate of your R12. So there's no worries there. Now, if you do go ahead and use this R12 pod assembly here, you're going to have to modify this wing a little bit. What I ended up doing is I had to separate the wing mount from the diffuser at the bottom because there's some material in between there which prevents the actual wing from mounting onto this cross brace properly. You won't be able to bolt down the actual bulkheads correctly. You'll have to cut away the material in between the wing and the diffuser. And so if you clean out all that material and shoe glue everything all in place, it ain't pretty, but it does the job. So what I've done is I've kind of, I know it's kind of difficult to see. What I've done is I've just cut away from the material there and I've just kind of heavily glued everything so it won't move. I used a screw here actually. It's pretty bad, but I used a screw to actually keep that wing pointed up because since there's a gap here, the wing was slouching down if I put any pressure on it, so I just put a screw in there just kind of keep it solid. But other than that, solid, good to go. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The front end's pretty much the same. You can see the electronics are done a little bit differently. I haven't put in the receiver, but I'll do that when I get to it. There you go. So that's my project, the Yokomo YRF-002 Transverse Edition. Didn't take much. Actually, didn't cost me anything to do. I just took an old chassis, just cut it up, used it. It's good to go. All right. Hope this inspires some of you guys. And if you have any questions or even dimensions from hole to hole, just let me know and I can help you out. Okay. Bye-bye.